If your child was hitting you, would you ring the police, Kay?
Well, I mean, that's a hypothetical, isn't it? I mean, I've never been faced with that situation. So all this story says to me is parenting is really, really hard. Yeah. And these are people who just don't know where to turn for help. And we always have this thing that we assume that parenting's natural and it just comes, it's part of life, and we can look down on people who are having problems with their kids, and I think that's wrong. And whenever we talk about parenting classes, it's kind of like, oh, who needs that? And I think we have to accept, and I certainly accept, because there are times that with particularly my younger one, I'm thinking, I don't know what to do here. I mean, she's 9 today, actually. 9 today.
But happy birthday.
Thank you. So she's a 9-year-old wee girl, so I'm not having these issues, but I don't know what to do here. But it's difficult to ask for that kind of help. And I think these people have obviously got to a stage, it's just at their end of the rope. And we should be able to ask for help about parenting more and admit that we're struggling.
I mean, I think, you mentioned parenting classes, and I know that the government was sort of suggesting that. And people going, oh, no, we don't need to be told. Look, I adopted my daughter, Amara, when she was just 4 days old, but before adoption I had to go onto a parenting course, and for me, I learned that actually parenting is a skill, and everything I learned on that course of how to look after a child that's adopted actually made me a better mother to my birth son. So they teach you things like listening, observing, using the right language, and all of those things that we actually just don't even think about. All those things, if you put them in place at the beginning, it can really change the life of a child. And also for me, it's an ongoing thing. It's like, I'm a parent, but I actually genuinely read books. I'm reading a book at the moment about how to bring up positive kids in a negative world. And there's so much stuff in there, and I think you just have to keep... You have to keep going, but you don't have to start.
Ever becoming violent?
Sorry?
Can you imagine your kids ever becoming violent?
No, I can't, but I actually was brought up in quite a violent household, not because I had a very safe, secure environment, but there were things that, there was a lot of shouting, a lot of anger, a little bit of, knocking around. And so, for me, I didn't want my life to be like that. So it was kind of like trying to change that. But I do think that it's really, really important that this happens right at the start when you become a parent, that you've got those tools so that when you can sort of nip things in the bud.
But the thing is, Linda, these parents don't know where to turn, do they?
They don't, and I suppose they're looking at the police as the final, there's nowhere else to go. I mean, luckily for us, all sitting here, we've never had that with our children. Our children have all been... I mean, there have been times, and I've got a friend, actually, that's bringing up 2 young boys on her own, single parent, and one of the boys has been smoking wacky-backy and whatever, and has been staying out and everything, and she's been worried sick about him, and she's actually rung social services and asked for help. He actually left the house, and she was trying to find him, and, they never got back to her. So she's, I mean, she's really, really struggling. But I don't think the police would help in that instance. No. I've also had a time in my life where my son, at 15 years of age, Louis, maybe at the time I should have called the police. He actually stole our car. And, I mean, he's the most normal, nice boy, but for some reason he must have had a moment of madness, because we woke up the next morning, the car weren't outside, and it was like, where's the car gone? Someone's nicked the car. And it turned out he'd taken it for a joyride round Islington and was waving at people, and he was... He'd never been behind the wheel before in his life, I have to tell you. And I was absolutely traumatised when we found out it was him. I actually blamed a friend of his, I thought it was because she was having driving lessons. I thought Claudia's gone out for a drive with him, but it wasn't, it was Louis. And when I think about it now, it makes me shiver, because he could have killed someone.
And
it was actually
totally out of character.
Totally out of character. I don't know.
So what did you do? How did you punish him?
He was coming up to his 16th birthday, so the 16th birthday was cancelled. He was in his room with nothing in there. I'm talking about no computers, no laptops, no nothing for a week. I mean, practically we had to have counselling because I was so shocked at what he'd done, because it is completely against
that's the big thing. You followed
done.
Through, and I know you're good at this as well, Colleen. It's consequences.
And boundaries.
And, when you say, if you do this, this will happen. You've got to make sure that
it happens, but also it doesn't just happen that day. If you ground them for a week, it's got to be a week. And by the second day, they are sorry and they're being back to normal and they're being lovely again. And as a mum, especially, it's like you want to go, let him go and play football or something.
You enjoy it a bit, don't you?
What?
The consequences.
The consequences. Love it. I do, actually. In fact, one time, Jake said he was going to phone social services because I told him off and he was grounded and all that. So he said, I'm phoning social services. So I actually got him the number and the phone. And I did, really, and said, there you go, phone them. Please phone them, because they will come and take you out of my house and they can deal with you. And it was a bit like, you don't mean it. And I was going, no, do you want me to dial it for you? You know, because he didn't think that... He thought I was going to get punished. And I thought, no, you're going to get punished. But the thing is, that week still went on. He was still grounded for that week. Yeah. And speaking to some of Kira's friends who were all teenagers, one of them in particular who I was speaking to a few weeks ago, and she was saying, you know, her parents shout at her a lot and all of that, but she said, they just shout and that's it. And I know by an hour later I can do what I want again. And I said, so what do you want? And she actually said, it was so weird hearing it from a teenager, I want consequences. And I said to her, what, so you want to be grounded? And she went, yes, because then their shouting now means nothing to me. And also she wanted them to listen. See, I think as parents, we get busy and we go, oh, you don't know what stress is, shut up, go away, I'm busy. And you know what? Stress to a 14-year-old is just as bad then as it is when you've got a mortgage.
Puberty is such a hard thing to go through.
It's really hard.
You know,
and you've got to listen.
Your hormones are all over the place. You know, you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do. You're just finding,
but
you know,
also,
your way into being an adult.
don't be scared to ask for help. There is nothing wrong. I've done it. You know, Jake went through terrible anger issues when he was younger, and I got outside help because I thought, I don't know how to deal with this.